can you please show up to this podcast with if you're gonna layer collars like you are, they need to at least be lined up.
There we go.
Just
Jesus Christ,
that looks worse somehow.
I know it somehow does look worse.
Pop the collar out on top of it. Like, you don't need to look like you're wearing a turtleneck and then a collar on top. I think it was just one collar was folded in.
Just start the show.
Fashion Week, Met Gala.
Welcome to the show, where air takes the floor. Leah Rich on the mic.
Welcome to the AI Guys podcast, where we make artificial intelligence easy to understand for everyone. I'm your host, Lee Dixon, and as always, I'm joined by my brand ambassador for less calculus, more confidence, Rich Swire.
Good to be here, Lee.
Yeah, man. I'm coming in with some high energy, and you're coming in with NPR level energy.
That's
okay.
That was a tongue twister. It was a good welcome, though. It was throated welcome.
Yeah, if people had any kind of speaker turned above a halfway point, I just blew it. Yeah. I apologize.
It was very Pavarotti intro.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
We'll have to do something on that. I'll sing on one of these intros at one point.
That'd
but
be nice.
Today, I mean, we're coming in hot and heavy. We're actually talking a lot about making a brand AI ready and trying to understand, training a model that's going to speak to you. So we've touched on this on a few episodes in, recent weeks, just on very surface level stuff. I figured we could dive a little deeper. One of the biggest things is how to make AI your next true brand asset. So if you're in the marketing department, sales department, you're trying to understand, where you should be really focusing attention, I thought we could start with AI on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're going to use AI to either create materials for you or communicate to customers or prospects, or quite honestly, even use it internally to train your employees, I mean, I think it's a good way to think about the first step of AI as to, just like a new employee, is to train them on the culture and the messaging of your business and give them that framework to work within.
No more like 80s corporate training videos where it's like awkward people standing in a room and being like, "Hey, Rich, you left something in the copier back there." It's like, "Oh, thanks, Lee." It's actively engaging with you and being able to bring you up to speed without sitting through 8 hours of just, archaic knowledge.
I happen to like those videos. I don't know. I don't know what you're insinuating.
We have to make those for Rhea. I would love to actually make those for Rhea just as a bit. I think that would be great.
Yeah. I think people deep down really enjoy those. I think they're just afraid to say something
for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like those old, remember when you're in 5th grade and they bring this was before your time. They bring projectors out in my day, and then they have these they'd be teaching you something about some real awkward subject matter, and it'd be like this guy, "Hey, I see you there. How are you today?"
I mean, I'm 36, so we had the TV carts that were the old tube TVs that pulled in. The projectors were going to be like the transparent ones they smack on there, and they have to line up, because if they don't do it right, then half the equation's off the screen. And
there was a point in time in your life, in my day, when you saw that projector come into the room. It was like the greatest thing on earth. It was like a holiday. It was Christmas, Easter, everything plus everything all in one, accumulating of joy. Because we didn't have to sit there and listen to the teacher talk about some random stuff. We could sit back.
Just did an episode about education too, which I mean, it's top of the mind.
Projector
but 100%.
Day, when you walked into class and you saw the projector, you'd be like, "Oh man, today is going to be a great day.
It's going to be fantastic."
It was like nothing could go wrong. Anyway, yes. back to
brands.
I do think it's very important that you don't train your AI solely on quantitative and qualitative data that might live only in the context of internal use or even external use, without including some training and some personality, right? Giving your AI at some level a soul is going to help it become more human, and also understand the context and framework that it's going to be able to answer and ask questions for. And it's also going to help you present a better window of context for when you actually have to do some of those things. Like if you wanted to write long form content, or if you wanted to provide questions and answers to prospects who are asking specifically about products or maybe about services that you offer. But it's important to also have that kind of overall kind of what I would call that founder culture, whatever that might be, instilled inside of your AI. And the way you do that is well, A, you can obviously talk to it, right? And so a lot of times what we'll do when we train up AI agents, specifically using our tool sets, is that we do encourage, people, employees, as well as whoever might be the primary ambassadors of the brand or the company itself, to communicate and answer and ask questions to the AI, and that will build that training material that the AI will use, right? Being very human about it, right? So not just basically saying, oh, it's not yes, no answers, and it's not just like, oh, what do you do? And it's just like that corporate speak of like, oh, we're a multifaceted international company that offers a multitude of products and services, and
the bodification
right.
of it, where it's very robotic, it's very just, data dump or language dump. And
right.
like you said, there's no personality to it.
Right. And so even like one of the things that we do very often, all the time really, is, we record all of our meetings and we have AI attend every single one of our meetings. So we do that for a multitude of reasons. Well, when the meeting's over, the AI can summarize that meeting. We can share that summary with people who didn't attend and also people that did attend, so that there's a clear next steps, there's a clear understanding of what just happened. But also all of that scripting can be then summarized into the same bucket that you would use to train other AI to not only to kind of be a fly in the room, if you will. They're experiencing the company, right? So instead of thinking of AI as like a database or a folder that you're drag and dropping files into, it should be participatory, right? It should be participating in your business and attending meetings. In fact, there's a lot of times, it sounds kind of weird, but there's a lot of times where I'll be in this room with the same person that we're going to have a meeting with. So there's nobody remote, but we'll still log on to Google Meet, let AI join the meeting, and we'll have the meeting in person, but at least AI is listening in on that meeting, right? So we're only using the Google Meeting in that circumstance so that the AI could record it and listen. And you have to go beyond the fact that like, oh, this is cool, the AI is recording your meeting so you could do the transcript. Yeah, that's a nice to have. That's a first use case, but it's not the biggest reason. The biggest reason is having AI in the room, ambiently listening to everything is not a bad idea if you want the AI to understand what's going on in the business. Because imagine if you could record every conversation within a business every day across all your employees and have the AI literally learn not just about those people, but also about your corporate culture and about what's going on and about clients and about issues and challenges and tasks and goals. All of that being pumped into one singular AI agent is a dramatic leverage, that you can use as a business owner or even as an employee, right?
Well, it's interesting too, because you spoke on environment, right? So the environment that an AI is going to be deployed in, whether it's internal or external, is I think important too, but understanding the environment that it exists in is a huge piece. Right. So knowing that a brand or a specific company, like you said, has internal company culture that mimics X, Y, and Z, it's going to allow it to converse with people that want to ask it questions or engage with it. And that response is going to be so much more catered and understood by the user that's talking to it. Same thing goes on the front end. If I'm working or trying to engage with a certain brand and I'm getting the same feel that they're trying to sell through their advertising language, I'm probably more inclined as a consumer to go deeper into that process than just jump ship because I'm buying based on, the ad that I was served. But once I get in there, it's extremely clunky or just doesn't feel right. Then I'm going to, probably jump ship, and that's ad dollars wasted.
Yeah, obviously it starts where, from a very thin layer of your projection out to the world, having AI help you generate that image or continue to keep it consistent or also participate in conversations can always engage a higher number of prospects and, of course, get your brand at scale, doing much more than what you could do before, right? That's like number one is like you can't talk to 1,000 people a day, but with AI you could. So that now you have this new tool in your toolbox that you could leverage with your advertising. So a lot of times people were moving away from interactive advertising or QR codes or engaging with some sort of campaign that requires more input output. I think we're moving away from that kind of two-dimensional ad because you now have this powerful AI agent and agentic ability to engage with thousands of people at a very low cost. And so you're more creative on what you can use to to engage your brand with the end user. And then
Yeah.
as you get deeper and deeper into your business, actually, once they do become customers, that continues to be true, right? You can have an AI agent literally for every single customer that knows everything about what they like and what they want,
Yeah.
and service them at a higher level, be available to them 24/7. And I think
Yeah.
that is
and
where
feel like it actually knows them, you know.
yeah, it
That's a
would know
huge
them
piece.
because it would be in every meeting. It would
Yep.
have every conversation. It would be part of conversations, but also engaging in conversation. It could also be proactive, right? Calling them up or asking them if they have time to answer a few questions through an email, and then use that to train themselves even better if there's gaps to be filled. So all of this is going to completely change the way that we look at how brands engage with their customers and also the world as a whole, because there's this massive unlock now of conversational scalability that was always limited by how many humans you had on staff to do it, right? The closest we ever came to scalability, which now doesn't really work at all, is, email blasting your list, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is really cool. I've got 10,000 emails. Let me tell 10,000 people the same thing. And
Yeah. This
hopefully,
new sale we just launched.
right. And I'm certainly there's probably some still small percentage of people that engage with that, especially if it's a product that they might be looking to buy. But for the most part, that shotgun approach to messaging was working because it was the best way to do it before. But now, because you have you can personalize, you can be much more specific in your messaging to a specific person. You can move away from that generic, which has probably harmed your brand more than helped, more to that more personalized experience. And we all know this in our heart of hearts, that a more personalized experience that engages with me at a level that's deeper than just my name and my email and my phone number, it works much better. And that's, of course, the world we live in from a social media perspective, as they figured this out quite some time ago, is, they're catering their algorithm and the entire user experience of most of these apps that are, popular are based on my usage, specifically my use, what I click on, what I watch, and not necessarily based on anybody else's. And that personalization is why these apps are in such high, high usage, and they're one of the top apps out there because they understood the importance of that. Right?
Well, it's interesting too, because I think brands that figure out the right voicing, whatever they're trying to offer, only increases like the consumer reciprocity, right? Like how quickly a consumer is going to want to buy in or, take action with whatever it's that consumer is being presented with. It increases and finds more value if I feel like I'm being spoken to in a way that engages me, not just an ad because I'm looking for new athletic shorts and it's like buy one, get one. It's like, okay, well, it's a deal and I need athletic shorts, so sure. But if you're going to make me take an action on something that I'm not explicitly trying to do right now, which is buying athletic shorts, it's like, if it could say and take me down a road of, well, if you're buying this, like, why don't we look at your entire athletic fit, right? Do you need to have some new shoes for, upcoming run you have, or like, tell me a little bit about this. And it just feels like I'm talking to somebody about this. And it's like, well, if you're about to run a 5K, which I am not going to do, but if it's going to take me down that, I'm more likely to probably want to, give it more back, which just improves on it learning what I need. But it gives the brand probably so much more insight into that. So if we're talking about where brands can start, even if it's something small, I mean, collecting training data, trying to partner with platforms that offer, more of a lightweight way to fine tune those prompt libraries. We have these conversations multiple times a week with companies we work with, but let's just give maybe a quick crash course on, if you're not currently leveraging AI for your brand to be a ambassador for what you do, where you should start.
Yeah, I mean, the first place to start obviously is collecting and curating as much information as you possibly can, right?
And that can be like chats that people are having and things too. It doesn't just have to be like, here's a product catalog.
Yeah, it could be everything from past information, chats, communications that you might have in some sort of database or in some sort of app. It could be, obviously would highly encourage people to start creating transcripts of their meetings, the ones that matter, especially for internal use or external use. Even sales calls, right? Like tracking that. If it's something that if you sell products like B2B or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's another, obviously there's a lot of companies probably have their brand assets and their marketing materials, in PDFs, or they might be living in some sort of data store where they have all their kind of like, basic requirements and messaging and standards. But most of the time that's kind of disparated or across multiple departments or various versions. So trying to get that under order into one singular knowledge base is where we always tell people that they need to move towards. So, every company right now, no matter what their use case is going to be for AI, needs to start centralizing every single piece of data that they believe will help train their AI to do a better job or to do a job in a singular knowledge base, to make it accessible and easy for your team to update. And this is something that's probably been brushed aside for the last 20, 30 years, just because there was never really a need to be super diligent about it, because I think in the heart of hearts, people thought, oh, this is interesting that we're organizing all this stuff, but there's no real use for it. I mean, yeah, maybe every once in a while somebody goes into our knowledge base and does a query and looks up something up. But quite honestly, the user
it's just sitting there gathering dust and,
the
and
user
becoming
behavior,
outdated too. And
then, it was too difficult to keep it updated, and also live in a world of spreadsheets and PDFs and mobilizing that data, right? So, but now with AI, it's actually
becomes actionable.
The pay dirt is there for you to actually do that. And then now, instead of especially now you're giving it a user experience, right? So you could put all your stuff in the knowledge base and then ask AI, hey, can you build a PDF for me about this? And it'll just generate it dynamically, instead of having to worry about what version of PDF is sitting in what inbox. And that's what makes it so enticing now, is that you could actually say like, oh, hey, based on everything you know about our company, spit out, this, and it'll just generate it, instead of you having to worry about finding it in some folder in Google Drive, deep and hidden, and you're
in
not,
a box somewhere.
And even when you find that PDF, you're like, I'm not even sure this is the right version. Then you end up having to,
or God, this looks terrible. I don't want to send this to a client.
I have to update it, or I have to change, and it's and that's what we fill our work days with, which we should be. So that's first. Second thing would be, when you actually are ready to actually deploy that into an agentic form, whether it be using it for sales, support, ops, or whatever it might be. Or even just from a marketing perspective, creating a series of agents that can help you build out your brand or generate content or whatever it might be. You obviously want to pick a framework that allows you to do that at scale, right? So you want to build a platform and framework that builds AI agents, allows you to have these tools pretty much already rocking, so you're not building it from ground up, because nobody wants to do that.
Well, on that piece too, right there, not picking a single point solution, right, that just sits on top of it and all it can do is regurgitate. Here's the knowledge base link. In this kind of use case, it's okay. Thanks for sharing that with me. This seems very complicated for a brand new user. Could you make this into something that is more for someone who just signed up, who doesn't know our system inside and out? Oh yeah, let me do that for you. This is what I would say to the client. That's going to be so much more easy.
Basically, what you want is you want the ChatGPT experience of being able to
your knowledge,
be able to prompt it to do anything and everything you want it to do, but it's based on your knowledge base, based on your model. Not solely dependent on the foundational model of ChatGPT, which only really knows the basic internet, right? So, so really, you're just building this very custom, GPT-like agentic framework, which is like Rhea, which allows you to do that at scale, and then also allows you to do other things that empower those agents and unchain them from your desktop and allow them to go out and message customers if they need to message, or send an SMS to your employees if it needs to send an SMS. Allow it to be kind of free roaming, just like an employee would, right? This is the ultimate goal.
Giving it agency.
Yeah, giving it agency and giving it freedom to act as if it was an employee, right? It's attending meetings. It's adding notes to your CRM. It's
doing work you've assigned it.
It's emailing people and responding. It's texting people and responding. It's doing all these things that you want. That's the ultimate goal, and that's what you need a framework in order to power that. And then finally, obviously, you want to engage and train your workforce, your actual human workforce in this case, on the benefits of using AI. I think there's still a lot of companies that are trying to convince their employees, hey, this is valuable. This can help us be a better company, and this is going to help your job and make lives easier for you. But a lot of those people just don't understand how to use AI or how it works, and they don't really necessarily know that they are actually a very key component of making that AI work, because not only are they the people that are going to give them that last mile of information to make the AI operate at a higher functional, higher efficacy through human feedback, but they're also the ones that are going to come up with all the cool ideas. Like, this is only phase one of what I would call the agentic, evolution. Phase one is build your agent and make it where it's good at what it does and understand what it needs to do and smart enough to answer questions and ask questions it needs to. Phase two of this evolution is going to be where humans and AI are working together, that humans are providing feedback and giving the AI, and AI goes, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'll change my training or I'll learn more about it. So it's collaboration, working together to make the AI better, but more importantly, make the human that much better. Because for everything the human gives this AI, another 20 humans within the same company are giving that AI the same information or similar information or different information. And it's the collaboration and consolidation of all that information that's going to make all of your employees better, right? So if Jim knows more about XYZ and I know more about ABC, and unless I talk to Jim on a day-to-day basis, we're not on the same level. But if we're all centralizing that into an AI, the next time Jim asks a question about ABC, it's going to have the best answer available to them because I told it what needs to happen. And this is where we start operating at the highest efficiency as a company, human plus AI, you possibly can meet and reach. And I think
that consolidation of knowledge is huge.
Yeah. And then ultimately, the next phase of evolution is where essentially we, as kind of the workforce of any company starts to really kind of be the managerial and the kind of human in the loop element of what AI is doing. So as AI does more and more and more of these daily tasks, the jobs are, our jobs will translate into, all right, I need to monitor I'm in charge of these 15 AI agents. That's my job, right? I'm a manager.
Yeah.
I have a workforce.
But I know as the manager what the brand should feel like, sound like, be presented as, and I am the one that is curating these agents.
This AI is building this AI is building this video, this AI is creating this new advertising campaign.
And it's all on brand.
And as awkward as it sounds today, in 10 years this will be normal, I'm actually meeting with these AI agents. I'm giving them feedback. I don't like this, I don't like the video you did, change this. And it goes off and does it and comes back and you set a meeting with that AI. I mean, all of these things, which again sound kind of scientific or science fiction right now, is the world we will be living in 10 years. Is that every human might have 20, 30, 50 AI agents reporting to them, and we are going to, this is kind of the rise, if you will, of the middle class. What it's really kind of presenting to us is what everybody wants, but people don't see it this way, which is we will all become managers. We will all become executives, and we will all rise in value, and we'll be paid way more money because we are at a level where we're operating at a 10x output. People always, I always thought this was interesting about jobs and how people think about salaries and think about the money they make. They always think in these increments. Typically it's like, okay, I know if I'm a blue collar worker and I'm kind of doing this and this and this, I'm probably going to be between 40 and 80 grand, or maybe even less. But if I'm a white collar worker and I'm kind of pushing paper and I've got an office, all right, well, now I'm probably 60, 70, 80, 90 grand, and I'm working my way up. And then now if I've got the higher the floor of the building, right? So like they never really, they think of these big kind of cohorts of incremental increase, but what they never think about jobs, which is weird to me because I'm more of an entrepreneur, is output. What you should be thinking about in the money you make is how much am I outputting for this company? Like, because that's really what it's all about. If I can,
you pay me on the deliverable.
Yeah, and and this is more prevalent in sales and maybe in some other areas of business where it's specific, and it's very clear as an entrepreneur, because if there's no output, if you're not making money in your business, you're out of business, right? You don't make any money. Like, I've been in scenarios where I don't take a salary for a year because my business doesn't make money. It's not about like, oh, I deserve XYZ salary because of my history and here's my resume. That has nothing to do with it. My output is zero. My income is zero. So ultimately what we're going to become is an output oriented society, which is good, because what'll happen, because when you have 15, 30, 40 agents working under you, and you could and you're able to output 10, 20, 30x what you used to be able to output. Well, now the company has more money to pay people like you, because they're like, well, I have to keep paying Lee because he's managing 30 agents that have an output of X million dollars a year. Why? And somebody needs to do that, you know? And so I think ultimately, as we shift into this, and these are things that are a little bit off topic from a brand perspective, but still part of, again, that storyline, which is, are you preparing your company for what lies ahead? And are you building your agentic workforce in a way that allows your existing human workforce to be all in on that, and to start training these AI agents to achieve these results? And that will become part of your brand as well. That'll become part of your culture. And that's not an easy transition to make. Unless you're starting a company today from ground up, you have
with an AI first mentality.
With an AI first mentality, and you have no legacy to worry about. It's a lot easier. But if you're talking about legacy, you know, your existing employees, your existing tech stack, your existing architecture, your existing operations, all those things that you have to carry over, it's going to take a long time for companies to do that. So obviously, don't stress about the urgency around getting it done, but I would say stress about the urgency about getting started. Because the sooner you start convincing people this is the road you're on, this is the vision, this is the roadmap, the more people are going to embrace it and find creative ways to use it. And then, of course, everything will change by the nature of the fact that it's really cool and people are going to get jazzed about it. But you have to get them jazzed about it, you know? In order
by
for it to
getting
work.
started, you're already compounding that momentum. And that's the important piece. So good way to finish it up. Well, for everyone listening, thanks again for joining us on this episode. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, check out our Substack for more content, which will be linked to this episode to continue this discussion. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Welcome to the show, where air takes the flow.